Today on the show, we welcome the Lion City hit girl, the world's favorite skelly, Alexis Lee, who chats with us about her background, her worldwide tour, and her experiences in TJPW. We'll also review the Las Vegas show, chat about some other Vegas excursions, and celebrate a couple of birthdays. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. Hello to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa and welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host Andy Zyke, and I have returned home from Las Vegas and Vegas Mania Week. I am exhausted, I am a bit sad, but fulfilled for sure. Vegas was an incredible experience yet again. So many shows, so many meet and greets, friends, food, family. Gonna have a full recap episode coming soon, similar to the one I did for Texas, where I chat through my trip, everything I did in a little bit more detail. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Likely gonna get that out in the next week or so, I would say. Also, coming soon to your podcast feeds is a very special interview with frequent TJPW referee Mike Fullylove, aka Ref Mike. Yes, the same Ref Mike who navigated a cardboard Tesla in Texas and also popped up in Vancouver and Las Vegas. Mike is a friend of the show, and I was so excited to chat with him. I'm looking forward to sharing that conversation with all of you. On today's show, though, we have a different interview, one with the current Queen of Asia champion, Alexis Lee. Make sure you stick around for that. Today, we're also going to review TJPW's Las Vegas show, the Gaisen Sakura show, and the latest Inspiration show, 3 shows to chat through. We also have 4 shows to preview. Yeah, that's right. TJPW is really not slowing down anytime soon. 2 of those shows actually going to be taking place over in Europe. We're going to chat through a handful of other Vegas excursions, some of which I attended live while I was in Las Vegas. We also have a little bit of news, some birthdays, and some graduates to check in on. So an absolutely loaded episode today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It was so nice running into some of you all in Las Vegas. Quick shout out to Chris, Luke, Brian, and Brandon. Super nice to meet you guys. As always, I appreciate all of the support from all of my listeners. I am very, very excited to chat some TJPW with you today. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. Kicking off with some news and announcements, TJPW is going to be releasing a behind-the-scenes documentary for Grand Princess 2-6. This is going to be coming out on YouTube. I believe it is just free on YouTube on Saturday, April 25th. It is going to be about 80 minutes long. So it's a nice, short documentary of the behind the scenes of this major event. Earlier on the 25th over in Japan, TJPW is actually holding an advanced screening for Wrestle Universe members. They're going to have Ren Kanatsu and Rise Shirai in attendance of that. So nice little bonus perk for Wrestle Universe members. TJPW typically will do things like that every once in a while for their Wrestle Universe members. This documentary is giving me vibes of a similar documentary that TJPW produced back in 2024 for the 2024 Grand Princess event, which also took place at Ryogoku Kokugikan, coincidentally the last time TJPW was at Sumo Hall. That one, though, if my memory serves me right, was actually a pay-per-view on Wrestle Universe. I might be wrong about that. Maybe they did eventually upload it to YouTube, but I am almost certain that 2 years ago, this documentary was a pay-per-view on Wrestle Universe. So really cool to see that TJPW is giving this away for free. I think that's a really smart idea, a way to kind of generate some more interest. I know they are trying to grow their YouTube channel. They've been doing some YouTube live streams of events and a variety of different content on the channel. It's a great follow if you don't follow the TJPW YouTube channel. A lot of behind the scenes stuff there, a lot of vlog based content as well. And of course, that's also where TJPW posts all of their press conferences and whatnot. But I'm certainly excited to watch this Grand Princess behind the scenes documentary. I'm excited that it's on YouTube. One, because it's going to be free to watch it, obviously, but also two, because YouTube is so great nowadays with subtitles and translations and things like that. So it's going to be really great to get a clearer picture of what is happening and what some of the TJPW women are saying in this documentary. So mark your calendars on Saturday. Make sure you check that one out. Maybe we'll talk about it. If I do have time to watch it before next week's episode, I'll see if there's anything in it that's like newsworthy or not. Maybe I'll just give my 2 cents, but definitely add that one to your watch later lists on YouTube. Some other news that we have is we have our full card for our next Quirkwood Hall show, Yes Wonderland, which is going to be taking place on Monday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Monday is apparently a holiday. Monday the 4th is a holiday over in Japan. So that's why this one is taking place on a weekday. We have 3 title matches that have been made official here. The International Princess title in Suzume's second defense. She will be defending against Haru Kazushiro, who is going for her first singles title challenge in her TJPW career. We also have the Princess Tag titles on the line. The Inspiration, in their second defense of those belts, are going to be taking on Daydream. And then, in what will likely be the main event, the Princess of Princess title is on the line with Yuki Arai, her second defense, facing off against Arisu Endo. Very, very, very excited for that one. There was a press conference for Yes Wonderland posted onto the TJPW YouTube channel. I have not had a chance to watch that just yet and kind of read through all of the comments that were made, but we're going to be doing a full preview of Yes Wonderland on next week's show, so I'll make sure to watch that press conference and we can talk about that press conference as we preview this next Quirkwood Hall show. Some other notes about this card. I won't go through the full card. We'll save that for next week, but a number of guests that are being included here. Ryo Mizunami is going to be coming back, Aniki, Mei Saruga, Aja Kong, Kakeru Sakaguchi, and Yuri from Ganbare Pro. So quite the collection of cameos that we're going to be seeing. Also of note, Kick Slash is going to be teaming up once again. I don't know if they're going to be called Kick Slash, but we're going to see Miyu Yamashita team up with Sakura Hattori for the first time since Sakura's character change. So a lot to look forward to on the Yes Wonderland show. And again, we'll talk all about that on next week's episode. One more bit of news that caught my eye this week is that Miyu Yamashita had an interview come out with Encount, the Japanese publication, and there were a couple of interesting nuggets within this interview. It's online if you'd like to go ahead and read it. TJPW will typically retweet whenever their roster members do an interview in a mainstream publication like this. Yamashita was asked a wide variety of questions about her experiences, her history in TJPW, where she feels she fits in nowadays as the leader of the promotion. And just a couple of things that stand out to me. Yamashita mentioned that she was frustrated being out of the main event picture, but she did concede that the rise of new stars is good overall for the growth of TJPW, which I think that's a very mature way of looking at it. Someone who has had their moment in the sun in that main event picture for a number of years, still deserving of that main event picture, but is mature enough to understand that the company does need to grow beyond her, and she is comfortable seeing these new stars rise to the occasion here. She also commented that she was incredibly happy about TJPW setting their attendance record at the Grand Princess 2-6 event, 3,089 in attendance for that one. She does think that they can continue to grow the Ryogoku crowd, though, even more next time. So she doesn't want to stop at that 3,000 number. She wants to continue growing TJPW. She did make a comment about Yuki Arai. For a little while before Arai won the belt, she felt that Arai was a little bit stuck in that like upper mid card and trying to find her way to really get to the next level and break out. But she obviously did say here that Arai, it was really nice to see Arai kind of be a part of that rise of the new stars going for that growth of the company. And then she also commented a little bit on what it's like to be the leader for TJPW, what that title means to her, and then also Mirai's return to the company as well, given that she was around for Mirai's debut and then departure from TJPW. So interesting interview for Yamashita as she progresses into this next phase of her career as the leader of TJPW, the ace of TJPW, kind of nurturing the up-and-coming, the next generation and the generation after that. And then before we dive into any reviews, I want to give 2 quick birthday shout-outs. We have 2 birthdays coming up this week. On April 25th, Sakura Hattori will be celebrating her birthday, so a happy birthday to Sakura. And then on April 27th, we will have Arisu Endo celebrating her 28th birthday. So a very happy birthday to both Sakura and Arisu. With the news out of the way, let's dive into our reviews of the week. We have 3 shows to talk about. They're going to be a little bit different from our normal show reviews, and we'll talk about why for each one of them. But let's start off with Gaisen Sakura Pro Wrestling, which took place back on Saturday, April 11th, a couple of weeks ago, but based on the release schedule, my travel schedule, we are just getting around to watching this and reviewing this one. This was an outdoor event within the Gaisen Sakura Street area in Shinjuku Village within Okayama. Video on demand here for this one. It's only about a 2-hour event. There were 11 talents on this show from TJPW. Basically, it was the 11 that were not on the Canada shows that were taking place this same weekend, with the exception of Ren Kanatsu and Shion Kanzaki. They must have just gotten a weekend off. There were also a handful of Basara wrestlers on this show as well. This promotion is a product of Nodoka Tenma and her husband, Nodoka, of course, being a TJPW alumni, her husband wrestling in Basara. They run these events, I don't think it's yearly. I think this maybe is the 2nd or 3rd one in the last few years, but that's kind of why we see both TJPW representation and Basara representation as well. There were no attendance figures announced, but this was a free event. I believe there was some sort of charity component as well if you did purchase like a numbered ticket. So they did not announce attendance, but it seemed to be pretty packed in the area. We opened up with a handful of remarks from a couple of different folks, including the mayor of Shinjuku Village. The opening contest was one of the Basara matches. Takumi Tsukamoto took on Takeru Inoue. Might be butchering those names. I'm not too familiar with Basara, but Tsukamoto won via submission with a crab hold in 8 minutes and 36 seconds. Only going to dive more into detail with the TJPW matches, just to cover the results for the Basara matches, which our second contest was a TJPW match, a singles matchup. Kira Summer took on Rika Tatsumi. Kira briefly started in control here before Rika pulled her out of the ring. Rika slammed her on the mat of some of the spectators who were taking this show in, very front row seat, and then she dragged her on over to the yakitori stand. Rika ended up buying a yakitori, dragged Kira back to the ring, eats the yakitori before shoving the stick into Kira's mouth. Yakitori, if you're unfamiliar, is just, I think it's like a chicken or a beef skewer, basically, like a fried, not fried, but like grilled meat on a stick, essentially. Kira was able to briefly gain control of the match once again, surviving a sleeper hold from Rika. It might have been a choke. It's always hard to tell with Rika Tatsumi. Rika, though, swings the tide with a hip attack in the corner and then hits the twist of fate for the win in 8 minutes and 25 seconds. Next up was another TJPW match, a tag team contest. Hyper Misao teamed up with Mihiro Kiryu to take on Chika Nanase and Arisu Endo. Misao kept her pre-match mic performance fairly simple, asking for a clean fight, which they immediately reneged on, kicking Chika and Arisu in their guts and then tossing them to the outside of the ring. Misao grabbed the hypermobile, but of course it hits Mihiro, allowing Chika and Arisu to take advantage in the matchup. Back in the ring, Arisu locks in a camel clutch and Chika attempted a running elbow butt, but Misao managed to spray her in the face with her cold spray instead. Mihiro then apologizes for getting in the way of the bicycle, a nice touch there, and her and Misao start to work over Chika for a little bit. Arisu attempted to fight back for her team against Misao. Somehow, Misao's mask came flying off at one point here, but she just kept going with it. Chika hits a nice elbow butt on Misao and then even manages to lock in the Inari Tori. She tries to get in the modified Inari Tori as well, but Misao counters that into a ripcord knee and then locks in her chicken wing face lock. Arisu jumps in and hoists Misao up for the Juno Okite, but she is saved by Mihiro, who hits a sidewalk slam on Arisu instead. That eliminates Arisu from the contest here. Misao ends up finding her mask, puts it back on, and then hits the I Am a Hero dive in 9 minutes and 39 seconds, pinning Chika Nanase. As Misao was exiting, there was a nice touch where she was shushing the crowd, saying, like, "You saw nothing, keep my identity a secret." not knowing that this is filmed on Wrestle Universe, right? But I just thought it was some nice character work from Masao. There was then another Basara matchup here, a 6-man tag team contest. Ryota Nakatsu teamed up with Fuma and Takato Nakano to take on Minoru Fujita, Yasu Urano, and Trans Am Hiroshi. The team of Nakatsu, Fuma, and Nakano won with a maneuver called the Takagari in 11 minutes and 55 seconds. The semi-final was a 6-woman tag matchup. On one side, we had the Toju Tokusatsu Club, Haru Kazushiro, Yuki Aino, and Shoko Nakajima. They squared off against an interesting tandem here, or trio here, Mizuki, Mifu Ishida, and Aja Kong. Aja Kong getting some revenge here against the Tokusatsu Club. The club do enter to their new music that they debuted at Grand Princess as well. Aino and Aja start off in a bit of a hoss fight, trying to shoulder tackle one another. The entire club need to enter to really swing the momentum in Aino's favor. They do try their combination move in the corner, however, it fails miserably. They get tossed to the ringside chairs for their troubles. Aja even suplexed Aino into some spectators' bags at one point, too. So if you paid for a front row seat for this event, you were really, really getting your money's worth. Back in the ring, Mifu did a little bit of cheering against Aino, and then Mizuki and Yuki Aino have a brief exchange. The club managed to hit their modified combination move, the one where Shoko kind of gets up on the legs of the other two and then does a moonsault. In this case, she moonsaulted onto Aja Kong. Shoko tried to hit a Northern Lights suplex on Aja, which, let's be real, that clearly was never going to happen. Shoko and Aja wrestle a little bit more before giving way to Aino and Mifu. At this point, chaos breaks out all across the ring. Mizuki busts out her Pico Pico hammer. Aja Kong accidentally hits Mizuki with the tin can. I think she was aiming for Shoko. Shoko then hits a tope to the outside on everyone, leaving Yuki Aino in there with Mifu Ishida. Aino hits the Venus DDT, picks up the win in 15 minutes and 22 seconds. For their victory, the club won 10 kilograms of A5 grade Wagyu beef. So pretty great victory prize there. We had a few backstage comments. Aja Kong said she was glad that the weather held up since it was an outdoor venue, but she was frustrated with the loss. She ended up blaming Mifu Ishida. Aja was giving these comments solo. I guess that's worth noting. Aja ended up blaming Mifu Ishida for getting distracted by all of the interference, and Aja said she is now 0-2 at these Gaisen shows, so she really hopes that the third time is the charm. On the other side of things, the Tojo Club gave some comments together. They say Aja was a very tough opponent, but the weather held up primarily because of Aja, because Aja Kong is a super ultra sunshine girl. Their words. The main event of this show saw the Union Max title on the line. Shuji Ishikawa, the champion, defended against Ryuichi Sekine. Ishikawa did manage to defend that title with a move he calls the Splash Mountain in 16 minutes and 14 seconds. Overall, beautiful place to hold an outdoor show. The sakura trees were all around. It looked really, really gorgeous. They had great weather. Everyone really seemed to enjoy themselves. The crowd was very into this show, and it looked like a lot of people who were just there at that venue stopped by to watch some of the matches. I don't think anything on this card is like an absolutely must-see, but the environment is super cool. I do think that they were raising money for charity in some capacity, something like that. So if you're a fan of Basara and you want to check out a couple of these matches and you're a completionist, worth your time, but otherwise you can likely skip over this one. One that I highly recommend you do not skip over, TJPW Live in Las Vegas 2026, going down Thursday, April 16th from the Pearl Theater inside the Palms Casino Resort. This was live on Triller TV as a pay-per-view, about 2 hours in length this show was, and it is supposed to be uploaded to Wrestle Universe at some point. It is not up there yet at the time of my recording, but you will be able to watch this one outside of the pay-per-view cost once it does get uploaded onto Wrestle Universe. There were 17 TJPW talents that made the trip on down to Las Vegas. Attendance for this show, 424 spectators. Last year, when TJPW ran this exact venue, they drew a house of 812. And then the next day, they were part of the collab show with TJPW, DDT, and GCW. That show had a total attendance of 648. So this attendance number this year, certainly less than both of the shows last year. In fact, it's about half of the attendance from last year's TJPW show. I want to touch on that just for a really brief moment. I think there are a number of factors that are playing a part here. The Versus show last year, the 648 number, that took place on the Saturday of WrestleMania Day 1 and ended up going long and kind of overlapped with WrestleMania. So that 648 number, that's probably why that was a little bit softer compared to the 812, which was the TJPW only show. I don't know what the DDT show was last year off the top of my head, but I imagine it is closer to that 800 number. Here this year, pulling half of the figure from last year, there's really no way to know why with this. I don't think that there were any competitive shows this year. Last year, TJPW ran at the exact same time as one of the Stardom shows. This year's attendance figure could have something to do with the timing of the show announcements. Slamfest was announced a little bit later than a lot of other shows, although I do think if you were waiting or you are a super fan of TJPW, you would have bought tickets regardless. I know quite a few people that almost like blew off some of their other shows in order to attend like the TJPW event, the Stardom event, the CMLL event, things like that. The only other thing I could think of perhaps is the ticket prices. The ticket prices were a little bit more expensive compared to other events taking place this Vegas week. I do think they are in line with like the prices that we saw for Texas Stampede, more or less the prices that we saw for Vancouver. I have to think they were about the same as last year, maybe marginally more expensive, but those would be my only guesses because TJPW did put out a really strong card. So I have to say that that's likely what was the contributing factors here. A little bit of a disappointment, although the fans that were there were really invested in the action, chanting for a number of the wrestlers. The wrestlers did seem to still have a great time. The meet and greet lines, there were 2 meet and greets for TJPW. The lines were packed on both days. So I don't think this is a net negative by any means. While it is maybe a softer number, a slight disappointment, don't freak out here. This is not going to be a sign of TJPW pulling the plug on any of their American tours, American shows. They have consistently shown an interest. And when you look at the larger picture, the numbers for these American tours with TJPW are definitely on the up and up. For this review, I'm not going to be going with like a full digest for each of the matches. Similar to Texas, because I was live in attendance for this, I'm going to provide a little bit more of a live perspective versus a move for move breakdown. So just keep that in mind as we go through here. We opened up with Sayuri Namba giving some opening remarks, and then the Up Up Girls came out. They sang Love You More, and Uta's ice cream of the day was Haagen-Dazs. A tag team contest started us out. Uber Eats took on Uta Takami and Toga. The first time Uber Eats was tagging together since Grand Princess. Toga, in her US debut, quite a warm reception. Toga and Wakana started out. We did get a brief moment of Uta and Kamiyu. I thought that was a lot of fun to see the dynamic between one of the taller wrestlers on the roster and one of the shorter wrestlers on the roster. I do have to say I think Toga and Wakana was the pairing that seemed to get the most time, which honestly was cool to see for Toga in that US debut. There was a drop kick that Kamiyu hit at one point on Uta Takami that looked like she hit her with a shotgun blast. Takami went flying into the corner. At one point, Takami did lock in the koala clutch on Kamiyu, but Kamiyu had a pretty creative way of getting out of that, like raking the eyes of Uta. This eventually did come down to Uta and Kamiyu, the final two. Kamiyu hit a brainbuster and then quickly followed up with the Famouser and pinned Uta Takami in 10 minutes and 3 seconds. The next match was a wild 6-woman tag team contest. Raku Palm and Yuki Aino came together, the love triangle. They took on the Bumping Gritters and Alexis Lee. Alexis making her return to TJPW for the first time since the December Bangkok show. And I thought it was a really nice touch. Alexis entered wearing Himawari's sunflower in her hair, so a little bit of a teamwork and camaraderie from that side. Raku Palm was the first duo here to get streamers at this event. There were not very many streamers throughout this whole event, unfortunately. Ref Mike was our referee here. In a funny bit, he brought out a remote control to mute Palm at the beginning, but a little bit of mixed results. Palm was able to just unmute herself using the same remote control. We saw a lot of the classic offense in this one. Shino gave a tour of Las Vegas. Himawari whipping a lot of folks with her hair. We did get the Oyasumi Express from Raku. Alexis was in there biting both Raku and Palm. Palm brought a dice block with her to the ring because, Vegas. There was this very cool storytelling moment. She rolled the dice block and then it landed on 3, and then she hit Himawari 3 times. Then she let Himawari roll the dice block and ended up landing on 6. Himawari got super excited, but then Palm hit Himawari 6 times. I thought that was pretty fun. There was a really cool exchange between Yuki Aino and Himawari about mid-match. Himawari, surprisingly strong for her size. She really held her own against Aino in this one. A little bit later on in the match, they had a callback to the dice block in a very funny moment. Palm tried to get Shino Suzuki to roll the dice block, but Himawari came running in the middle of it. She was like, no. So I thought that was just some really good comedic storytelling from all of these wrestlers here in this one. The end of this came down to Yuki Aino pushing Himawari into Shino. Alexis got hit with a Pop-O Chop from Raku, and then Aino connected with the Venus DDT on Shino Suzuki in 14 minutes and 36 seconds, picking up the win for the Love Triangle. Next up, we had the crazy 3-way match, crazy for different reasons than the previous tag. Miyu Yamashita versus Miyu Watanabe versus Mizuki. And I have to tell you, the crowd was ready for this one. Started out with like a test of strength. There was some biting from Mizuki that was taking place. Yamashita then just started kicking people left and right in the ring, on the stage, on the ramp. Mizuki dodged one of those kicks and ended up jumping off the ramp onto Yamashita. And then she tried to jump onto Watanabe as well, but Watanabe caught her, drove her into the guardrail. There was a fun moment where Miyu almost hit the giant swing on both Mizuki and Yamashita, but Yamashita put a stop to that. They were kind of holding onto the ropes. They formed this really long train of people. Yamashita hit an attitude adjustment on Watanabe. Mizuki jumped into the ring to steal the pin attempt and then gets the better of Yamashita with a foot stomp. Everyone kind of ramped up the pace. Mizuki had a diving foot stomp. Miyu did eventually connect with the giant swing on Yamashita. There was a moment where all 3 of the competitors were down in the middle of the ring and they had a forearm battle between all of them. Watanabe managed to hit a double power slam. That's always impressive when she does that. Mizuki went for a whirling candy and she actually messed it up, which I think is the first time I've ever seen her mess that move up, but she recovered. She immediately just went for it a second time and connected. She hit that on Watanabe. Yamashita came back in towards the end of this, absolutely obliterated Watanabe with a skull kick, and then she won this contest hitting the Crash Rabbit Heat on Mizuki in 14 minutes and 5 seconds. We then had all 3 titles on the line. We started off with the International Princess title, Suzume, in her first defense, going up against Sakura Hattori. These two have met 4 times before, although admittedly it was Kaya Toribami that was wrestling Suzume. Suzume got the better of her in all 4 matches, so she is 4-0. We did have 2 preview matches as well that were tied 1 apiece, and Sakura did get pinned in one of those preview tags. This was like a coming out party for Sakura. I thought she looked quicker than she has. I thought she really matched Suzume move for move. Of course, Suzume was terrific. She always is. I felt that she really brought the best out of Sakura, and this one really challenged her. So there was a moment where Suzume hit a really great facebuster from the apron onto the floor and then played to the crowd for a little bit. This Sakura challenge almost reminded me of when Kaya challenged for the MLW featherweight title a couple of years back. Those were the vibes that I was getting with her performance here. Interesting to see Sakura actually tried to hit the Sento Choryu, and that's the first time I've seen her attempt that move since her character change. It ended up being the downfall, though, because she ended up missing the Sento, and that allowed Suzume to get the upper hand. hit the ring a bell. She actually hit a couple of ring a bells and then picked up the victory, defended her title in 11 minutes and 36 seconds. The two gave some backstage comments. Suzume said that she was happy to defend her IP title belt. She wants to defend this International Princess title belt around the world. She also praised Sakura as a very worthy competitor. Sakura said that she felt ashamed, basically, after talking such big talk leading up to this match, but she does vow to challenge again one day for this belt. Our second title matchup was the Princess Tag titles being defended. The Inspiration, in their first title defense, went up against Kyoraku Kiyome. No preview tags for this one. The Inspiration were not around in Japan or Vancouver to have any of these previews. Misao's pre-match mic performance was pretty simple. It was just an introduction for Kyoraku Kiyome, the resolve to win the match, win back their titles. Kyoraku Kiyome also attacked before the bell, and that's how we got this one started. The Inspiration were booed very loudly by everyone in attendance. There was actually a sign from someone in the front row, friend of the show, Chris. Shoutouts to Chris. He had a sign that said, "If the Inspiration win, we riot." And they immediately took that and ripped it up. They got some loud boos for doing that, but what a cool moment for friend of the show, Chris, to have that happen. The match itself was fine. To me, it felt a lot like their Grand Princess title match when the Inspiration won the belts off Uber Eats, which that's not a bad thing. I didn't hate that match. I know that match was a little bit of like a mixed reception from different folks, but I didn't think that match was bad at all. So me saying that this felt like that match is a little bit more of a compliment. I thought that both teams provided a lot of tandem offense in this. Everyone seemed to work well together. I did think that Kyoraku Kiyome might win here and we'd get the title change back in front of the American crowd, but alas, it was not meant to be. The Inspiration pinned Shoko Nakajima after hitting their Idolizer in 12 minutes and 59 seconds to retain. A lot of boos for that, but I do think it was boos playing into the storyline. I don't think anybody was too upset that they won. There was like a smattering of applause as well, just a respectful applause for the matchup for all of the women. There were some comments here as well backstage. The Inspiration were celebrating their win, and they did announce that they will be back in May, which we now know is on that Yes Wonderland show on May 4th. During their backstage comments, Miyu Watanabe actually interrupted them, and she was commenting on how cute the belts are since they're pink, and she said, "I have a friend that I want you to meet. She is a crazy white dragon named Rika Tatsumi." She asks the Inspiration if they will be returning, and she gets very, very excited once they confirm that they will. Once Watanabe leaves, the Inspiration kind of confer amongst each other, and they say, we don't trust her one bit. She was a little bit too loud. She was a little bit too noisy. We don't know what her game is, who this Rika Tatsumi character is. Kyoraku Kiyome also gave a few comments. They said that they felt embarrassed by the loss today, said that they had trouble keeping up with Jessie and Cassie because they kept switching places on them. Ultimately, though, they agreed to just flush this loss because they're headed to Europe next weekend, and they're going to head there with a clean slate. The main event of this Las Vegas show saw the Princess of Princess title defended Yuki Arai in her first defense, going one-on-one with the Ultimate Athlete J-Rod. This is a first-time singles meeting between Arai and J-Rod. We did have two preview tags, both in Vancouver. Those tags were split one apiece, and there were no direct pinfalls on either of these competitors. J-Rod spent most of this match on the attack, just kicking Arai's butt. Arai wouldn't give in, though. She kept standing up, kept fighting back. That was the basic story here. It was a bit of like David versus Goliath of sorts. J-Rod would get frustrated that her standard offense couldn't put away Arai, and she ended up taking a lot of those frustrations out on Ref Mike. Arai ultimately manages to overcome J-Rod. She slays the Giant in 11 minutes and 18 seconds after hitting the finally. Once this one was over, Arai had the microphone. She thanked J-Rod, saying how happy she was to face her, that she loves her. J-Rod says that Arai earned her respect and that she loves her as well. The entire roster then came out for a commemorative photo, and Arai promised that TJPW will return to America. It almost feels like the end of a Marvel movie when they do these TJPW overseas tours, because whoever is on the mic, whether it's Arai or Watanabe in Texas, or I think it was Namba in Vancouver, they all say the same thing. TJPW will return. It's like the end credits of Marvel, right? Where it's like, the Avengers will return in Doomsday. So I always get those vibes, but TJPW keeps promising to return. We got a few backstage comments as well. J-Rod expressed disappointment in the loss, but she does say that Arai earned her respect. She still promises that one day she is going to be the first American Princess of Princess champion. On the other side of things, Arai reflected on winning the title at Grand Princess, the Vancouver preview tags against J-Rod, how she got her butt whooped, and then ultimately emerging successful here in her first defense. One comment she made that I thought was very poignant. She said, the seniors of TJPW walked so that we can run in America, basically saying everybody before her really laid that groundwork so that she could be successful and keep building upon the foundation that the pillars and the leaders and the seniors of this company built overseas. She also, again, promised that TJPW will return. A very fun America show overall with some really great title matches, big amount of roster members that came over, got some debuts there with Toga, crazy three-way matchup. It really felt like we got the full TJPW experience, which, what more could you ask for, honestly? Compared to like last year's Las Vegas show, maybe it's like a slight notch below that, but I don't want that to mean me saying that this was like a bad show. I don't think this was a bad show by any means. There was a lot of competition this year. Marvelous was back for the second year, and that Marvelous show in 2025 was like a hidden gem of the weekend, and people really circled Marvelous this year. They didn't conflict with TJPW, but when people go to Mania Week and you start kind of penciling out what shows you're going to be going to, deciding where you're going to spend your money, obviously budgets start to play a factor, and the more shows that you want to go to, the more meet and greets you want to do, the dollars add up. So that's the only reason I'm kind of bringing Marvelous into the fold. Of course, Stardom ran a show as well of the same ilk. You know, you have to kind of pick and choose where you're going to start spending your money. I also have to admit that Stardom really stepped up their game this year, puts together a really, really great card. So a lot of competition, which is ultimately a good thing. I thought that this show was worthy of the conversation. Definitely one of the better shows that I watched this week. And ultimately, another chapter in the TJPW USA book. Later that weekend, back in Japan, on Saturday, April 18th, the latest TJPW Inspiration show took place. This was Inspiration number 11, and it emanated from the Tokyo Square in Itabashi. This was also video on demand. I think it just came out on Tuesday. And these Inspiration shows are much shorter than your typical TJPW show. This one clocked in around an hour and a half in total. There were 9 TJPW talents on this one, basically the ones that were not in Las Vegas. Attendance for this show was 222 folks. Last time TJPW ran Tokyo Square was for Inspiration number 9, back in June of 2025, where they drew 215. So a little bit of an increase, and TJPW actually said that the 222 number was a sellout. It was standing room only. We opened up with Rise Shirai giving the opening remarks and the house rules, and then because the Up Up girls were over in America, we had Shion Kanzaki give our opening start call. The first matchup was a tag team contest, Kira Summer and Chika Nanase teaming together again. They took on the lookalike duo of Mihiro Kiryu and Kakeru Sakaguchi. Early on in this one, Mihiro and Kakeru pulled the old switcheroo. They tried confusing Kira and Chika, and that's most of what this match was. It was just a prolonged bit of confusion with Mihiro and Kakeru switching places, doing their do-si-do. We did get combinations of all 4 ladies in the ring. Towards the end, Chika rolled up the wrong opponent because she was confused by who was who, accidentally hit Kira with an elbow butt, and all of that allowed Mihiro to hit a spinebuster on Chika for the win in 11 minutes and 25 seconds. The next contest was a singles matchup. Mifu Ishida took on Papillon Akemi. This is Akemi's first time wrestling in TJPW, also known as Konaka from Pro Wrestling Darkness 666, I think is the name of the promotion. I only know it by 666. This was absurd. I don't know how Mifu managed to keep a straight face for most of this match. Akemi is a male competitor, basically pretending to be a woman, I think is like the gimmick. Akemi was like screaming in a falsetto voice the entire time. He or she or they, however we want to refer to Akemi as, even cheered with Mifu a little bit. Really, really getting into the cheering. It was very animated. Obviously, this was primarily comedy with a man pretending to be a woman, right? It goes on for over 12 minutes and 34 seconds to be exact, before Mifu picks up a victory with the German suplex. It was harmless fun. It was silly. I don't have anything negative to say about it. Just a match that you watch where you have a smile on your face. Maybe just a touch too long for what it was, though. The semifinal was another singles contest. Ren Kanatsu went one-on-one with Mei Suruga. Mei returning from Wrestle Princess 6 the last time that we saw her. She was booed big time for not shaking Ren's hand and then telling off the crowd. This match was a lot of fun. At the start, Mei kind of had an answer for everything that Ren was tossing at her. Of course, she's the veteran here after all. Ren tried to out-cute Mei, which really, really upset her. That gave Ren a brief window to go on the attack, but again, Mei just a little too crafty to stay down for too long. Throughout this match, Mei was getting alternating cheers and boos depending on what she was doing. She even stole Ren's sheep keychain at one point. She pulled her hair. She bit her. One guess which reaction each of those got. Ren manages to hit her Kanatsu Crush. That's that one-legged code breaker, but she does miss the Ares Comet and then ultimately submits to Mei's finishing submission, the Gaito Invisible, in 11 minutes and 8 seconds. Backstage, Ren mentioned that this match was a big step forward for her in her career as she approaches the 1-year anniversary of her debut, which is like insane to think about that she hasn't hit the 1-year anniversary yet. That's wild. Mei says that she can tell Ren is working very, very hard, but she still does have a long way to go in her development. The main event for this Inspiration show was a tag team matchup. Haru Kazushiro teamed up with Arisu Endo to take on a really cool team of Rika Tatsumi and Shion Kanzaki, Shion wrestling in her very first main event. Haru and Shion start us out, but it's not too long before Rika pulls Haru out of the ring. Everyone's brawling outside while Rika just decides to visit the snack bar and get a little bit of food. She is upset with Shion when she returns that Shion lost control of the match, so she ends up eating some of her snacks and then force-feeding them to both Arisu and Haru. Back in the ring, Arisu and Haru work over Shion for a little bit before Rika tags in. She gets in a little bit of offense on Haru. Arisu then tags in but gets choked for her troubles, and then the figure 4 is slapped on. Rika and Haru then have a short sequence before everything starts breaking down. Ultimately, Arisu is left in there alone with Shion, hits her with the Juno Okite in 18 minutes and 32 seconds for the win. Very, very long main event. Afterwards, Haru grabs the microphone and makes a statement to Suzume, who had defended her belt at this point over in Las Vegas. Arisu then takes the mic and makes a very bold challenge to Yuki Arai. Arisu said that Haru's message was awesome, but that Suzume is still going to defend her belt, which I thought was a nice touch with her Daisy Monkey partner. Backstage, Rika Tatsumi issued a challenge to the Inspiration, basically doubling down on what went down after the Las Vegas show with Miyu and the Inspiration. She's issued a challenge to the Inspiration, saying they will have a daydream. Haru expresses her desire to compete overseas. She is the last of the 2023 class yet to go. And then Arisu literally called Yuki Arai on speakerphone or FaceTime to ask her if she saw the challenge. And I think it was like 10 p.m. in Las Vegas when Arisu made this phone call. And Arai, she was like, it's 10 p.m. She'll be up. It's okay. She called her, and then Arai was like, yes, I did see it. I was watching live. And Arai ended up accepting via this FaceTime call. Overall, this was a harmless show. The Inspiration shows are always very easy watching. Surprising that this one was a little bit newsworthy with Arisu making that Princess of Princess challenge, but a quick hour and a half. Some of the matches were a little bit longer than I thought they would be, so a little bit longer of an Inspiration show compared to some of the others. Now, before we jump into our show previews for the week, I had the absolute pleasure of meeting and speaking with Alexis Lee after the TJPW Vegas show. Alexis and I spoke for about 15 minutes and talked all about her background as Singapore's first female pro wrestler, her continued career growth and how she's bounced back from Rejection, her global wrestling tour, the inspiration behind her gear, and of course, her experiences in TJPW. It's a really lovely chat, and I hope you enjoy it. Super excited to have on the show today the current Queen of Asia champion, Alexis Lee, fresh off of her TJPW match here in Las Vegas. How are you?
Right now, I'm still jet lagged as hell. I'm barely sleeping. I've 3-4 hours of sleep for the past couple of days. It's like I don't even know when I can sleep actually.
Well, in Las Vegas, people don't sleep very often, so you're fitting in, right?
But it sucks because I need sleep. It's like I have a busy schedule and I need sleep, but I can't sleep because I'm out till super late, 2-3 in the morning. Then I get back and then I'm sleeping at 4, and I'm up at 7.
And you're working out, doing matches all the time too during the day.
I'm dying. Not enough alcohol is getting me out, man.
So you are Singapore's first female pro wrestler, right?
Yes, I'm Singapore's first female pro wrestler. I made my debut back in 2013. That's also the same year that I trained at. And it's been crazy because SPW was one of the first promotions that started out in Southeast Asia region. And since then, it's so amazing to kind of witness everything and be part of the growth of the progress of the scene. And it's really crazy. I just right before this Vegas trip, I had a match in Singapore. The week prior, I had 2 matches in China, and then before that, I just did Philippines.
Wow.
So it's everyone thinks of wrestling in Asia, it's mostly in Japan, but now it's I think this is proof of the growing scene that's outside of Japan, and it's really buzzing and all that stuff. So it's amazing.
Do you feel any pressure carrying that first female pro wrestler out of Singapore label?
Honestly, it's been said so many times. I'm huh? But I feel I'm more than just that title. I want to be more than just that title. I don't want people to be oh, just because you're the first, that's why you're everywhere and everything. I want to make it that I am deserving of whatever success I have been given, and it's not just because I'm Singapore's first. I just want to make the wrestling scene in Southeast Asia just kind of blossom. I just want to share it with everyone. So I've just been really, really fortunate, I feel, to be given all these experiences and all these opportunities to actually just go out and do all that stuff. And it's amazing. I made so many friends all around, and this TJPW show is my 3rd country of TJP. I did Japan, I did Bangkok, and I did now Vegas. So it's amazing, we get to meet new people all the time, and this is crazy. I'm just here to show about Southeast Asian wrestling.
Yeah. So you had a WWE tryout a number of years ago, right? 2019.
Yeah.
Is that still a goal for you, or have your goals kind of changed now over the course of a couple years?
I was really upset. I was really bummed I didn't get selected for further on from the tryouts. But I mean, making the tryouts is a big thing because you don't really have a lot of wrestlers from Asia in general making it into the tryouts. They don't really hold tryouts that often there, right? So I mean, that was a very big opportunity. I honestly don't know, man. Back then, I know WWE was definitely the goal, but I mean, getting the rejection, definitely there was some depression to it and everything. But I tend to think of half the cup half full kind of thing, or is it half empty? I don't know. The positive
half full
one.
is the positive one.
The positive one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the positive one. So it's with that, it's I've taken that knowledge and everything, and I'm just out here just hustling harder and everything, because one rejection doesn't mean end of the world. So I'm just out here hustling harder than ever before, and just taking risks and all that stuff. And it's the world just doesn't stop because of one negative aspect. So who knows, man? Right now I may not be in WWE, but I'm out here traveling the world and all that stuff. I'm now in Vegas. I mean, this year it was just hectic as hell. I was doing China, different companies, different shows and everything. I was in Korea. I'm going back to Korea for the 3,000 pack shows, PWS Wrestle Nation too. I'm just doing this whole tour. After Vegas, I'm going to France, Lyon for Raw Spirit Wrestling. I'm going to do Fist Club at in UK. They have 2 shows, one in Brighton, one in London. And I'm going to Korea for the 3,000 pack show, Wrestle Nation, and then like finally back to Singapore. Like, so it's like if I was signed, I could probably not do that. But at the same time, it's like because of that, I am able to like, push myself harder to get out there and like just network and market myself and just really grow into my own person and just like see what happens.
Do you have a favorite place that you've wrestled? Is it back home in Singapore, or do you have a different place that you really like?
Wow, every country is different. It's hard to say anything because I love like so many different things. Like I love the culture in China and like the fans are all very like amazing and all that stuff. Japan is so good. They treat me, they spoil me. Like my gosh, everyone treats me so nice. Like I can't pick one, but one of my favorite memories, I think, in like the recent like past last year, was I was working PWS like in Korea, and I just looked up in the audience and I saw a kid high up on the 2nd floor. He had a face paint. He had my face paint on. I was like, oh, that's so cute! The fans in Korea are mostly kids and like they are just the cutest, sweetest shits. They made so many like fan art and stuff. I was like, I have it at home. I think I feel like I need to like get a new cabinet just to like display this stuff because it's so cute. Like the kids were drawing and all that stuff, then they were like writing in Korean. I mean, I can't read Korean, but they were trying to write in English as well. It's like, aww, like stop it guys, you're killing me.
That is adorable. So now we are a TJPW focus pod.
Yes.
We are here, TJPW live in Las Vegas. I don't know if you know, before today, you've had 5 TJPW matches. 3 of them are championship matches. You have quite the record challenging for championships in TJPW.
Losing everything!
Well,
hell yeah!
We see you today on this TJPW show. Are we going to see you in TJPW more in 26? Maybe challenging for a title, the International Princess title, perhaps?
Am I going to lose all the title matches?
Well, maybe we'll win one, right?
Like, can I just win one? Can I just, like, beat someone down? Like, just cash in something? I don't know. I need to do something. Like, I really want to go back to Japan. I want to go back with TJP. Like, it's so much fun with them. I love the girls. They're so amazing. They spoil me. My gosh. They're so much fun to hang out with. I had the most fun, like, just traveling and everything. Like, especially since Yuki and I know each other very well, like Kamifuku. We've traveled to so many different countries together. We did like China, Philippines, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand now. It's so much. So, and now US too. So it's so fun. It's so fun to see like friends in different parts of the world.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Yuki, because I was going to ask you about Yuki, because that is someone that you have a lot of history with in TJPW, probably the most history with. And like you say, you fought Singapore, Vietnam, China, Japan. Like, you two are going global. I believe you even put your career on the line last year to beat her for that title that you won.
She whooped my ass.
But hey, you're still wrestling, so you came out with your career, right?
Thank God. This would not have happened then. The depression would have hit harder.
Right.
Yeah.
How is that bond or that rivalry between you and Kamiyu? Like, what does that relationship mean to you? How do you define that relationship?
I guess it's complicated. We're very competitive person, like people. So in the ring, we just give it our all. She whooped my ass, I whoop her ass. She whooped me all around Asia. I attempt to not get whooped out around Asia. And like, yeah, it's just like outside the ring, we hang out a lot and stuff. We're like really close and all that. It's nice because like my parents have met her before. Like it's sweet. Like my parents don't meet a lot of the wrestlers, so it's nice when like they meet with someone and like we spend time and all that. So it's really just so much fun. Every time we hang out, we do something crazy, I guess. Oh, I mean, more on my side, not on her side. She's the one keeping me in check, man. I'm the crazy one.
Now, I have to ask you about your gear. I know we talked about this a little bit ago, but your gear is so cool looking. Do you design your gear? Do you create your gear? What goes into the look that you bring to every match you have?
So, do you want me to get into the skeleton thing first?
Sure,
yeah. So the skeleton thing came up because I got bullied in school for like being too skinny and all that stuff. Like, a fan sent me a photo from like back in 2013 and damn, I was skinny. Like, you think this is like, no, I was bones back then. But like, yeah, it was that, like being bullied and stuff. Plus, like Gaga released Born This Way, which has the whole skeleton thing going on, and there is like a freaking LGBTQ like anthem, man. So it just made sense. Everything just meshed together. It's like perfect. So I was like, and I was getting beat up in my matches. I just died the whole time. So I'm still alive somehow. So yeah, like and it just went from like the face to like the gear and everything. I just want to make it like seem like I'm like half here, half there, like between heaven and hell. Well, I mean earth and hell then, cause I'm not bound for heaven for sure. But yeah, like everything just came out the way it is. I really liked it. Ever since I learned to do digital art, it just like I just been able to do many different things. So I did my merch. I do like designs for some of the other wrestlers as well, for like their merch as well, and like just putting this like a cool fact about this is like there's an X on the front and a Y at the back. So that's like my initials for my shirt name.
There you go.
So it's like a bit of my real life inside this.
Yeah.
That's
So
nice.
you mentioned the bullying. Is that something that still fuels you today, or is that something that you've kind of moved past? You have different motivations?
Like for that, it made me watch wrestling actually. Like I started watching wrestling because of all the bullying and stuff. So it helped me out. Like wrestling helped me get out of that shell, build that confidence and everything. So now it's like I'm just this crazy motherfucker, man. Like,
The true skelly, right?
yeah. It's like Alexis 316 says I don't know, get drunk and sleep on the floor or some shit.
I love it. Do you have any message for your overseas fans now that you are traveling so much in Southeast Asia, in America a lot? Do you have any message for your overseas fans, your English language fans?
So to my fans, worldwide skelly's happening! Yeah! Yeah, I was Asia's favorite skelly for so long. Now I'm the world's favorite skelly to be. But it's a work in progress.
Working on it.
We're working on it. But yeah, everything's gonna be cool. Hope to see everyone. The world is so small. We will see each other wherever, whenever, somewhere, someplace. We don't know. In the meantime, thanks for the support and everything. Just keep supporting indie wrestling, all the wrestling you can. We all put our lives on the line. We all put so much on the line, and like we really appreciate all the support that the fans give. So just want to say thank you to everyone for all the support. Like maybe buying some merch and all that talking that you guys do at the merch tables and stuff with us. Like those really do impact us a lot. Me especially, if I can remember anything. But yeah, that's because I'm concussed.
Speaking of that support, where can people follow you? Where can they see you next? What's your upcoming schedule look like? What are your social media handles?
My upcoming schedule is so messy. I need to put that somewhere. For Vegas week, tomorrow I'm doing a show. I don't know when this is out, but on Friday I'm working Big Time Wrestling with Viva. Then I'm doing Divas and Drag versus Nixie XS. On Sunday I'm doing a tag match at Spark, tagging with Rina versus Alea, James, and Azumi. So that's for just Vegas. Then I'm doing Raw Spirit in Lyon, and I'm doing a Fist Club in London, and then PWS Wrestle Nation at Korea. That's for this month. I have no idea what's the following stuff because it's just gonna be chill.
Well, if people do want to follow that, where can they follow you on SNS?
Instagram, Alexis_frigging_Lee. Twitter is a different one for some reason. It's Alexis Lee XY. I should put everything the same name. So much easier.
Well, when they see the skelly, they know it's you.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining the show today. Really, really appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of your matches and the rest of your travels. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, bro. Like, so nice to see everyone here.
Alexis is so friggin' cool, man. I had so much fun getting to know her throughout the week. She was so gracious to spend some of her time with me. I think I saw her wrestle like 3 times, Pandemonium, TJPW, and then Spark Joshi. But she had like 5 or 6 total bookings, which is so great to see for someone that's coming from abroad. I'll admit, before this, I really only knew Alexis from the cups of coffee that she had in TJPW over the years, but she really, really impressed me, both in the ring and out of the ring. She's one hell of a hardworking person. She's incredibly friendly, incredibly genuine and down to earth, and I hope she continues to see success as her career marches on. Make sure you give her a follow on Instagram. She is at Alexis_friggin_Lee, and on X at Alexis Lee XY. Now, as I mentioned, I am exhausted coming out of Vegas, but I am not going to have any time to relax because TJPW has 4 more shows in the next week alone that we're going to start talking about right now. I think after that, it evens out to like 1 show a week once again, but we have another week or so to go here. The first one will be TJPW Spring Tour 2026 Next Door in Shinjuku. This will be taking place on Friday, April 24th. From the Shinjuku face, it will be live on Wrestle Universe, although by the time this episode releases, this show will have already aired earlier in the morning. There are 4 absent wrestlers here: Miyu Yamashita, Shoko Nakajima, Hyper Misao, and Yuki Aino, all of whom are touring Europe. We'll have a 6-match card here, a 6-woman tag. Rakupam will team up with Mifu Ishida to take on the Bumping Gritters and Mihiro Kiryu. A singles contest will see Sakura Hattori one-on-one with Kira Summer. I imagine Sakura gets a little bit of a win back here after her failed title challenge in Las Vegas. Another singles matchup will see Yuki Kamifuku one-on-one with Chika Nanase. You have to think Kamiyu's pulling out the victory there. A tag team matchup, Mizuki and Uda Takami on one side of the ring, and on the other side, we'll see Ren Kanatsu and Shion Kanzaki teaming up. Take one guess who's going to win that one. Another tag team matchup, we'll see Daydream have a tune-up match for Yes Wonderland. They're going to go up against Wakana Uehara and Toga. And then in probably the main event here, we're going to have yet another tag team contest. Yuki Urai and Haru Kazushiro on one side will go up against Suzume and Arisu Endo on the other. So this is one of those ultimate preview matchups that will be both our first International Princess preview matchup and then also our first Princess of Princess preview matchup. Taking a quick jaunt over across the pond to Europe, this weekend we will see 2 collaboration shows in Europe, TJPW and Eve holding their second collaboration show on Saturday, April 25th from the Big Penny Social in London. This is live on YouTube. Eve airs all of their shows. They are usually behind like a paywall for members. I think the membership is like $8, $10, something like that. It's well worth the money because then you can also go back and watch the Woman Behaving Badly show, which has Yamashita and Jamie Hayter one-on-one, and then also their Wrestle Queendom show, which was terrific, not to mention the vast back catalog that Eve has. But this show will have 4 TJPW wrestlers, the 4 that we mentioned who are absent from the Shinjuku show, Yamashita, Nakajima, Misao, and Aino. I'm only going to cover their matches. There are a few other matches on this show, but only going to talk about the TJPW matches here. There are 3 singles matches and then a tag team contest. So starting with the tag team matchup, we're going to have Yuki Aino teaming up with Lucy Sky, and they're going to take on Session Moth Martina and Emerson J. And then for the singles matchups, some really great singles contests here. Shoko Nakajima will go one-on-one with Holly Barlow. I'm not too familiar with Holly Barlow. There will be a contest between Hyper Misao and Rio. Rio, the English Rio, not the Japanese Rio from AEW, but Rio is very much like a powerhouse competitor, so an interesting contrast between her and Misao. And then probably the one I'm looking forward to the most here is a singles matchup between Miyu Yamashita and Alice Inc., the Scandinavian Hurricane. I remember when Alice Inc. had a bit of an excursion in Stardom. I think it was 2023, and she aligned herself with Shuri. And I think actually she did a UWF rules match against Shuri as well. But that's the kind of competitor she is, the kind of UFC striking, UWF rules, like very like God's Eye coded type of wrestler. So her going one-on-one with Yamashita is going to be incredible. I'm really, really, really looking forward to that one. The very next day, on April 26th, TJPW is collaborating with SAJ Wrestling out of Italy. This one will be taking place at the Sporting Cesate. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. That feels a little bit more Spanish than Italian. But this venue is in Milan. I am unsure if this is streaming anywhere. I think that SAJ, if they don't stream their shows, they do post them somewhere online. So TBA on that. I will follow up once we do the reviews of these shows with how you can watch this. The same 4 women will be on this show in Italy as well. Miyu Yamashita will take on Sebastian DeWitt. Yuki Aino will take on a competitor by the name of Irene. Shoko Nakajima will go one-on-one with Kanji. And the tag team match will see Hyper Misao team up with LG, and they're going to take on Session Moth Martina. So Moth Martina is also making both of these shows here, and Martina is teaming with Flamingo. And then following this TJPW European vacation, we're going to have a show on Wednesday, April 29th. This is going to be the Wrestle Universe members only event. TJPW typically runs this once a year. This one is titled Pre-Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling .10. I don't really know what that means. I'll have to do some research there. This one will be video on demand. It's going to be releasing on Saturday, May 2nd. So we will not be able to review this on next week's show. It simply won't be out yet. This will be at the Itabashi Green Hall. And that's about all the information I can give you, because at the time of my recording here on Thursday evening, we don't know what the card is. There have been no matches announced. Just my luck, the moment I finish recording, TJPW will announce all of the matches, or perhaps in the next day or so. But for now, that's all we're going to get. We can't preview this. What I will say, though, is that this show always has some sort of fun combination, fun matchup on it, a very TJPW coded style show. It is only for Wrestle Universe members, so you do have to, in addition to your ticket, you have to present your membership page on the Wrestle Universe website. Last year, they had one of my favorite matches from last year. I don't think I put it in my top 5, but they ran this, I think they called it a costume change match, where it was a 10-woman tag, and all 10 women assumed the costume and the personality of a different TJPW wrestler. So you had Toga pretending to be Haruna Neko. You had Wakana Uehara doing a spot-on Miyu Yamashita impression. Haru Kazushiro was Hyper Misao. I think Mizuki was Uda Takami. All 4 of the Up girls were recast by some of the other players. So it's a very, very fun show. I wish we knew the matchups to be able to talk about it, but alas, we're going to be surprised, and maybe next week's show we can do a preview because we won't be able to review it. I'll have to think how I want to handle that, but just know that this Wrestle Universe members only event is well worth your time to watch. Now, I do also want to share a peek into the graduate and alumni side of things, and then we have a number of Vegas excursions that I'd like to talk about. Starting on the graduate side of things, Yuka Sakazaki. We spoke a little bit about this last week, although I did not spoil the result. It has now been confirmed, or has been aired, I guess I should say, on the April 17th TV episode for Honor Club. Yuka Sakazaki qualified for the Survival of the Fittest match, which will be taking place at Supercard of Honor on May 15th. Yuka qualified by defeating Viva Van. Also on that very same day, April 17th, there was a Seedling show, which saw Unagi Sayaka defend her Seedling tag titles against Celine Misora and Veni. Her tag partner that she holds those titles with is Honori Hana. And then lastly, gonna mention Nao Kakuta. Nao's been releasing a few YouTube videos on her channel alongside other TJPW alumni, Natsupoi. So Nao Kakuta's got a pretty interesting YouTube channel. She has a lot of collaborations with other wrestlers. Definitely worth a follow. Check her out on YouTube. Now jumping over to the Excursions side of things. Last week we talked about the Pandemonium Pro Wrestling show, which took place on Wednesday, April 15th. I'm not going to talk about that again. We are still waiting on streaming information for this. Once I am able to confirm how you can watch this show, I will certainly share that with you. And I highly recommend you watch this because we had Alexis Lee and Jocelyn Navarro on this one. Great match between Natsupoi and Johnny Robbie. Heck of a main event with Janai Kai, Amira, and Saya Ida. And then there were a handful of other matches with some talents from Mexico, some Lucha Libre wrestlers, some talents from the American Indies, great tag team contests. There was a wild singles contest between Daisuke Sasaki and Jaya Jewel, so definitely worth your time. That same day, Wednesday, April 15th, Podermania went down. Toga teamed up with Jazzy Yang to take on Amira and Lil Mars. Just got a chance to watch this one after I returned back from Vegas, and this match was just okay. There was a little bit of miscommunication. Things didn't really seem to click between these four ladies. I'd only recommend you go check it out if you're a completionist and you want to see Toga's very first US debut. This was the day before the TJPW Vegas show. Otherwise, just pretend that she debuted at the TJPW show. Toga did win this matchup, pinning Lil Mars after an absolute zero in 8 minutes and 47 seconds. Then on Friday, April 17th, we had two events go down with TJPW members on them. The first one, GCW Bloodsport 15, saw Miyu Yamashita go one-on-one with Janai Kai. This was pretty good by Bloodsport standards. This is like a type of match you're either going to enjoy this style of wrestling or you're not. There's really no in-between. Yamashita does win via knockout after a skull kick in just about 5.5 minutes. Bloodsport matches are usually this length. They're pretty short. Miyu is finally able to win a Bloodsport match. She had lost her previous two to Natty Neidhart last year in Vegas, and then a year or so before that to Shayna Baszler. This show is also pretty newsworthy because at the end of it, Josh Barnett announced that Bloodsport is going on indefinite hiatus. So this will be the last Bloodsport event for quite a while. So a heck of a match for Yamashita to go out on. She was pretty beaten up. She had a big welt in the middle of her forehead. Also have to recommend Shayna Baszler and Natty Neidhart from this show. Probably the match of the show for me. Shayna must have busted her nose because these two kicked the crap out of each other and Shayna was bleeding profusely from the nose. But definitely check that one out as well if you're going to watch the Bloodsport show. And then the other show from the 17th was Pride Style Pro Wrestling's Out of This World. I attended this one live. I did not attend Podermania or Bloodsport. I was attending Pandemonium, which went head-to-head with Pottermania, and then Stardom went head-to-head with Bloodsport. But this Pride Style show I did take in live. Interesting event. This was my very first Pride Style show. It was very, very indie is kind of the takeaway that I have. I'll talk much more about all of my experiences at these shows in more detail on that Vegas recap episode, which will be coming in another week or so. But it just felt very indie to me is how I would describe it. They didn't have any lights on, which was a little odd. It took me out of it a little bit. The reason I went to this was because Miyu Watanabe was wrestling against Tanaya. Not quite sure how she pronounces her name. Watanabe did pick up the victory. Standard Miyu Watanabe match. She kind of played all the hits within the match. There was a really cool moment where she lifted up Tanaya and was going to do, it was either the Canadian backbreaker, I think it was the body slam, and she basically held her without holding her. She just had her on her shoulders and then spread her arms out, and she even did a couple of squats. And I happened to be watching this show with friend of the show, Ref Mike, and I said to him, I've never seen her do that before. That was probably worth the price of admission as well. The other cool thing about this Pride Style show is that afterwards they did a meet and greet with Watanabe, and you got this really neat collectible trading card. It was a limited edition, customized for Pride Style. It was autographed in this really nice, thick plastic, so a real collector's item. So that was really, really great. Also worth the price of admission. You did have to pay for the meet and greet too, of course, but well worth it for me. I also want to shout out the main event of this show. Really great main event with Johnny Robbie and Chris Nasty. I saw Johnny wrestle so many times this past week. Johnny Robbie is excellent. It was my first experience with Chris Nasty, but he looked really good as well in this one. On Sunday, April 19th, Spark Joshi Lady Luck 2 went down. We were very lucky enough to be sponsors of Spark Joshi. We were very, very happy to sponsor that show. It was super cool just to see the logo for the podcast up on all of the screens. And I believe this was live on Triller TV as well. I have to go back and watch it. I think it's going to be surreal just to see my logo as well. I have to say this was probably the best Spark Joshi show yet. And I think that that's a pretty high bar to top because Spark always puts out some really, really great shows. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of deep connections with Stardom, but they've had TJPW talents on their show before. They've had a number of indie wrestlers, both from Japan and America as well. The ring announcer for this one was Sayuri Namba. Always a delight to see Sayuri Namba. A little bit surreal to see Sayuri Namba announce the likes of like Azumi, Starlight Kid. Very, very interesting to hear that go down in person. There was a number of wrestlers here that are noteworthy to me. Aya Sakura, Azumi, Mei Sarah, Starlight Kid from Stardom, Super P, who was a wrestler from the Philippines. I didn't know much about Super P before this show, but cool to see her. Maya World, very big up and coming. I guess she's not up and coming anymore. She's now signed to AEW, but former indie wrestler, big time name here in the States. Saki from Colors, freelancer over in Japan. Just a few of the names. Alexis Lee was on this one. She teamed up with Mei Sarah, but lost to the team of Aaliyah James and Azumi. And then Natsupoi was on this as well. TJPW alum. Natsupoi won her 4-way matchup. And then there was a really terrific main event, which saw Hazuki, the current Spark Joshi champion, defend that title against Jada Stone. Excellent main event. I highly recommend you go out of your way to watch the Spark Joshi show. And then, if all that wasn't enough, back in Japan on that same day, Sunday the 19th, DDT held a show called Gathering the Three Unagi Siblings in One Pond. I was previously referring to this show as the Eel Brothers. I think that's just a translation error or a different type of a translation. Perhaps it's not an error. But the three Unagi siblings in one pond. I had no idea who the Unagi siblings were. The reason I tuned into this was because we had a TJPW offer match. Haru Kazushiro and Rika Tatsumi teamed together to take on Arisu Endo and Ren Kanatsu. This was your typical showcase match, but it was really nice to see this happening like with more consistency on these DDT shows. Surprisingly, this was not on the pre-show. This was actually match 3 of 7, so a little bit of progress, I would say, making our way into the middle of the card here. Rika submits Ren in 12 minutes and 41 seconds with a Dragon Sleeper. And then to my surprise, the main event of this show, which saw all 3 Unagi siblings in a 6-person tag match, we saw Aja Kong, Chris Brooks, and Antonio Honda on the opposing side of the ring. And then we saw Unagi Mask, Super Unagi Mask, and Unagi Mask Woman on the other side. Those are the 3 siblings. And I have to say, Unagi Mask Woman looked suspiciously like Mifu Ishida. Maybe there's a doppelganger out there. I'm not too sure. Super Unagi did pin Antonio Honda with the Super Unagi Splash, topical finishing move, in about 15 minutes and 1 second. This was fun. It was raining during this match, which you have to imagine helps out the Eels, right? Isn't that like an unfair advantage? But it was raining during this match, and there was, of course, all sorts of shenanigans with like Aja's Tin Can, Antonio Honda. The match was fairly simplistic in style because the canvas was wet. You don't want to do too much with the ring canvas being soaked with the rain. So a fun event. Perhaps I would recommend this if you enjoy some comedy or any of these players that I named here in that 6-person tag. As we look forward, there are actually 2 events for Excursions that I've got my eye on. We talked about this briefly last week. On Tuesday, May 5th, Marvelous is hosting their 10th anniversary show. They have booked Miyu Yamashita one-on-one with Senka Akatsuki. That's going to be incredible. That's only one of the matches on that 10th anniversary show too, but that's the TJPW representation. And then another anniversary comes hot on the heels of this, Saturday, May 16th, Aja Kong celebrating her 40th anniversary, which is called Aja Kong 40th Anniversary Dream Feast Dream Festival. There are a handful of TJPW alumni and current wrestlers here. There's going to be a tag team contest. Shoko Nakajima will team with Sora Ayami from Marvelous. They're going to take on Mika Iwata and Rina Amakura. There will also be, in the main event, Aja Kong, of course, is going to team up with Kaori Yoneyama, also known as Fugakin Death. Their partners will be Ryu Mizunami, Aniki, and Hikaru Shida from AEW. Those four are going up against Nagisa Nozaki, Sayori Ano, Veni, and Yuki Kamifuku. What a hell of a cross-collaboration there. You've got freelancers, Stardom, Sendai Girls, AEW, Mighty Gold, TJPW. Like, that alone is probably worth the price of this show. This show is also going to see TJPW alumni Unagi Sayaka, Momoko Hanazono is on it, Hiroyo Matsumoto, Rina Yamashita, Shuri, Takumi Iroha, Chihiro Hashimoto, Kakeru Sakaguchi, Haruka Umasaki, just a few of the other names. Everybody is truly showing up and showing out for Aja Kong, and like rightfully so. She's a living legend, right? 40 years doing this. That's incredible. I had the honor of meeting Aja Kong, not this year in Las Vegas, but 2025. I did see her wrestle a few times this year, but being able to meet Aja Kong, say hello to her, get a picture with her was incredible experience. A living legend in the Joshi world. So with all that being said, that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Make sure you get your cold spray and your ice packs. I'm still catching up on sleep from Las Vegas, so I think that's all I'm going to take for myself here. My thanks again to Alexis Lee. On next week's episode, we'll review the Shinjuku Spring Tour show and both of the European collabs. As I mentioned, the Universe Members Only show will have to wait one more week based on the release schedules, but we'll be able to preview Yes Wonderland and Suzume's Homecoming show, Back to the Hive. I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, you could subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.